Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to Skytown and everything Chicago Sky-related podcast. It is brought to you by the All Sports, All Plays Network. If you haven't checked out that network already, definitely give them a shout-out. They cover a lot more teams, WNBA. They cover basketball, football, whatever you may want from them. They provide it. But thank you for this opportunity once again to be able to be sitting here with you guys and talk about Chicago Sky basketball. It's always an honor. It's always a great time talking about Skytown. And the Chicago Sky gave us nothing but positive things to talk about last night. We do have a post-game interview from Kahleah Copper, Coach James Wade, and Allie Quigley. And later on, we do have, at practice, we have interviews with Dana Evans, who I know I'm smiling about it, but, she's been somebody who's always believed in me. She's been somebody who's always, had true feelings and true intentions with everybody she meets. And she's such an amazing person. And, being able to interview her after her being the first person I ever interviewed a year ago, it just felt all full circle. So being able to catch up with her again was a great time. We also have Allie Quigley in pregame as well. But we have a lot to talk about today. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Chicago Sky are advancing to the semifinals. We don't know who they're going to be playing just yet. We have to wait till 8 p.m. Central Time tonight. Definitely check out that game. It's against the Connecticut Sun and the Dallas Wings. So shout out Megan Price and her Dallas Wings forcing that game 3. But it's going to be super exciting. I think, right now, personally, I think I would rather face the Connecticut Sun. And I think my reasoning for that is because, as good as they are on paper in the regular season, we have beat them 6 straight times, since last year's playoffs. So, there's a big part that goes into that. And I think, understanding that, we have the adjustments and we have the amount of players and amount of skill set to beat them. It shouldn't come hard. And that's what I'm saying. Obviously, it's always going to be a battle. It's always going to be a test. But, there's a lot to take into that. But we're not even going to get into that. We're going to talk about right now Game 3 for the Chicago Sky. We're going to kick it off with our interviews with Dana Evans and Allie Quigley. Going into Game 3, we really didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know what team we were going to get. Game 1 was very different from Game 2, and Game 2 really set a standard. So could they even match that energy in Game 3? And they did, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. But here's our interviews right here with Dana Evans, kind of talking to them about, Game 3 and what they needed to do and able to be successful. So here's Allie Quigley and Dana Evans on Game 3.
Dana, I was talking to Coach in postgame, and we were kind of having a conversation about when the team has their back against the wall, they seem to play the best ball that they have all season. For you, what do you think it is about this team, even looking back on last year, trying to make it into the playoffs and then being the underdog story throughout the entire postgame? Is what do you think it is that this team just gels so much better when it's do or die?
I think that just brings us closer together. Honestly, I would say that loss in Game 1 was probably just us just showing us that we needed to wake up and that we can be beaten. I think it was a blessing in disguise because I don't know if we would have played that hard in Game 2. I don't know if we would have got all those loose balls and all those deflections and all those steals. I don't know if we would have did that with the same intensity if we would have won Game 1. So I think everything happens for a reason, and I think that just gave us a little humble pie and let us know that we can be beat, but when we're playing our best basketball, it'll be hard to beat us.
And then when you look at, the way Game 2 went, being able to get you and Ruthie on the floor, to me, was very important to build everybody's confidence and just kind of to get out there and play playoff basketball so you guys are ready for any moment. How important was that for you guys? And can you kind of speak on you and Ruthie's connection?
Just always being ready. As a pro, you just never know. You just always have to be ready, focused. You attack every game like it's your last game. So for me, when I'm on the bench and I'm watching, I'm seeing what they're doing on ball screens. I'm seeing how the game is being called. I'm seeing what plays are working and what's not working. So when I go in, that I'm prepared and I'm ready. And I do that every single game, no matter if I play or not. But I'll know for sure that I'll be ready to play. And the same goes for Ruthie. We push each other every day. We make sure that we stay focused and locked in because we're on the best team in the league, one of the best teams in the league. So it's like we got to know that we'll be ready. pretty much.
Thanks, Dana.
Mark. Last one, we'll go to Mike Hughes.
Hey, Allie. Coach just got named Executive of the Year. Can you kind of talk on to what his contribution to this team and what he means to this team throughout not only this playoff run, but last year as well?
I think he's just a coach that really cares about his players and really wants to always do the right thing. And you can see that. We all have our different relationships with him, but I think that we can all feel that he really cares about us and, really wants to win, and this number one for him is winning. And I think he's put together an amazing team for us to go back to back.
And then, when you look at game 1 and 2, not only was the game so much different from one another, but your game in it itself was different as well, from 18-2 to 8-8. Going into game 3, is it the same mentality as game 1 and 2, or are you looking at it a different way?
I'm looking at it the same way I look at every game, and it's just being aggressive, playing my game, and, whatever happens, happens. But, I'm always just going to play my game and just make the right play, whether it's shooting or making the right pass.
Thanks.
And I think, tying into what Dana said, first of all, forget that. First of all, congratulations to James Wade. Totally forgot to say that at the beginning of this episode, but Executive of the Year, that is far more than just Coach of the Year. This man has put together a roster, recruited and scouted individuals like Rebecca Gardner from overseas, and bringing in Emma Mieseman and so many others. Shout out to James Wade first and foremost, but back to what I was saying about Dana Evans, kind of having that understanding of her and Ruthie having that connection and just being able to stay ready, I think is one of the most important things when you're really looking at this team. And you saw that through game 2 and game 3. I think that's the conversation a lot of people are looking at right now. Obviously, winning this game 90-72. Before we get into our post-game interviews with Kahleah Copper, James Wade, and Allie Quigley, we do want to talk about game 3 as a whole. Candace Parker was on triple-double watch this entire game. I heard the announcer say it I don't even know how many times. So, it was super exciting to watch her. She finished with a double-double, 14, 8, and 13 in 30 minutes. Kahleah Copper had 15, 2, and 3 in 32. Emma Mieseman, 12, 0, and 1 in 28. Allie Quigley, 15, 1, and 4 and 3 and 30. Sloot had a double-double for 14, 10, and 5 and 32. Azure had 12, 0, and 8 and 21. Rebecca Gardner, who played immaculate defense against Sabrina Onescu. She really gave it to her. 6, 3, and 4 and 16. Julie had 0, 3, and 1 and 8. Dana Evans had 2, 0, 0, and 1. And Ruthie had zeros across the board in 1 minute. And obviously, Leah is no longer with the team at this very moment. So when you look at the Sky in this performance, and we do interview Ka in a little bit and kind of just have this conversation with her about, not only just being the engine of this team, but being able to have so many other amazing individuals right next to you. I think that's one of the biggest things that allows her to be the engine. You have all these other parts, all these other individuals in double figures in this game. You have 6 players in double figures, including Kahleah Copper. That's huge. That's huge for not only this team, it's huge for this organization. It's huge for the bench. It's huge for James Wade not having to, rely solely on Candace Parker. It's easy for Candace Parker to just continue to do her game. And, if she wants to focus on rebounding, she can focus on rebounding because you have Emma and Ka and Allie and Sloot kind of doing their own thing. It really is something to me where when you really look at it from the outside looking in, you would look at this team and think, all around, it's Candace Parker's team. If you're not following the Chicago Sky, obviously you're thinking, oh, Candace Parker leads the team, but it's on any given night that Sloot could be the leader in scoring, that Ka can, that Candace can, that Allie can. It could be just about anybody. There's nights Azure is, and that's the beauty of this team. It's the beauty of everything we're doing, and I think that in itself is why we've gotten to where we've gotten. And here's our post-game interview with Coach James Wade and Kahleah Copper, kind of just speaking on that and really where she sees it.
Mike Hughes, one question, please. Mike.
Hey, guys, congrats on the win. My question's for Ka. The other night, Sloot called you the engine of this team and really one of the players that just makes everything go. But having 5 players alongside you in double figures, how much does that help you free up your game and just allow you to be yourself?
I think it's great, when you have you're playing with a lot of great players. I don't think that anybody can just key in on one person on our team. That's what makes us so special. So I'm just glad that I can play with such great players and I'm able to still do me in a sense. But I just know that consistently I just got to bring the energy and be that person for us, whether it's offensively, defensively. So thanks, Sloot. And
it's one of those things where, Sloot will be honest. Sloot will be real. She'll hype everybody up, and I love that about her. But everybody else, including Sloot, is so humble when it comes to themselves. And nobody here thinks they're bigger than life itself. Nobody here thinks they're bigger than the team. And that's something where you really look at it. And I watched Sabrina Onescu's game, and a lot of people even said if she takes more than 17 shots, then there's a likelihood that they're gonna lose that game. If she takes less than 11, there's a likelihood that they're gonna lose that game. You need to find her sweet spot, and then they held her to that. But that's the standard right now. Shout out to Sandy, man, and she is an outstanding coach, and James Wade has definitely outcoached her a couple times. But a big part of that in recent years, but a big part of that is because of who you have on your roster. And obviously she had Brittany Griner and DT and company last year with Phoenix in the finals. But when you're looking at this New York team, and I've said this time and time again, when I really digest it, I think I'm terrified. I am terrified of what New York is cooking up right now. When you look at Laney, when you look at Howard, when you look at all these other individuals on the team outside of just Sabrina, they are buckets. And even Stephanie Dolson, who brings in the veteran leadership, she's a champion. She's proven. You have a defensive player of the year in Howard. So, Laney's great. And everybody else just really holds their own. So when I look at that and being coached by Sandy, you look at free agency going into this year and this draft class, which is one of the deepest draft classes in quite some time. You're having this conversation of if you want to get a big fish like Brianna Stewart after Sue Bird retires this season, I think that's one of the biggest conversations we're even having is what is this going to mean for New York moving forward? Now that they've proven, okay, let's be real about the situation. You lost 2 straight after winning 1. But I mean, the one that you won proved a lot. And even in the other 2 games, I understand they were getting blown out in game 2 and they got kind of blown out in game 3, but they fought. New York fought. They're just very young. They need to continue to develop. Han is amazing. All the other individuals are amazing on that team, and they're so young. And I think when you look at a 28-year-old Brianna Stewart who's still looking for a championship ring, with Sabrina Onescu, who's only 24, and Sandy as your head coach, I mean, I think New York could be scary in a couple of years. So I do want to give them their flowers. I do want to give them their love. James Wade was not willing to have a conversation about what they need to do to be better, and I thought that was hilarious in post game yesterday. But I didn't get that one on film. It wasn't my question, but I thought he did give them their flowers, and he does think that they're a great organization, and Sandy's great at what she does. And I do definitely expect New York to just get better and just continue to be more and more relevant every single year, as long as they keep that core nucleus and as long as everybody buys into Sandy, which I don't see anybody having a problem with. But, really quick, before we get into the next series, before we recap it all, we're going to get into Allie Quigley's interview, kind of just talking about, in our previous questions, really just bringing up, like, what is game 3 going to be like? What is that intensity? And what did game 1 truly mean? So here's our interview with Allie Quigley post-game after the win.
Sap, Mike.
Hey, Allie, congrats on the win. I was wondering, when you look at game 1 and you look at the loss and that, it kind of ignites a spark into the team and understanding that, nothing is ever promised. For you guys, carrying that momentum into the next series, would you say game 1 was actually more important than not?
Yeah, like I said before, I think it was just kind of a reminder of how you have to play. We kind of played game 1 like a regular season game, and I think game 2 reminded us that, you have to elevate your game in the playoffs. No one's going to get any wins by playing how they did in the regular season, so it was just kind of a wake-up call to continue that energy for the rest of the playoffs.
Thanks, Allie.
Steven.
And I think, that's one of the things when you really look at it for what it is, and you really have this conversation that, you need to be down and you need to have your back against the wall to really perform at the highest of level. And that's not just basketball, that's life. I'm not trying to be, this isn't a TED Talk. I'm just saying from personal experience. It's a crazy feeling, and it's something to where, you really look at what this team is going to be and how they're going to approach the future with so many free agents. But I believe with James Wade announcing his new contract extension, through 2025, which is well-deserved, him continuing this mentality of nobody's bigger than themselves, and, the accolades throughout a regular season and even in the postseason. In game 2, this is the biggest, win-loss margin, 100-62, wasn't it? In WNBA playoff history, and they could give a fuck like that. I'm sorry for cursing, but that's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of it. You are backs against the wall. I don't care if I just had a triple-double. I don't care about this. We got the win, and that's all that matters. That is exactly what you want to see from the Chicago Sky. But before we get into anything further with the Sky, we are going to do a real quick recap of what happened with the New York Liberty and really where they kind of fell apart. Stephanie Dolson had a bad offensive game, 4 points, 2 assists, and 1 rebound in 27 minutes. Candace Parker and Emma Mieseman and even Azrae Stevens were definitely giving her that work. And a big part of that is because you know her so well. You know what I mean? You know her tendencies. You know what she's good at. You know what she lacks at. And Stephanie, she's a hooper's hooper for real. And I think you have to give her flowers at the end of the day. But this was one of the best big lineups that we've had in quite some time. We have bigs and we have individuals who aren't afraid to be down and dirty with it. And I think that's the beauty of this team right now. And I wish Stephanie could have been a part of it. But, we love Emma and we love everything Emma's done. And I think, not to be biased, but I do think Emma is the better player. And I think that screamed volumes in this stat sheet and throughout this series. But when you look at Laney, who was a bucket, an absolute bucket, 15, 2, and 5 and 30. Howard had a double-double, 14, 0, and 11 and 31. Sabrina had 14, 4, and 6 and 34. Johannes with a couple big threes had 9, 4, and 4 and 30. Allen had 4, 2, and 4 and 22. Han had 2, 0, and 1 and 6. And I keep saying this. I don't care what anybody says. If Han just, in my personal opinion, obviously she's 22. She's very young. She's going to continue to get better. If she hits the gym, forget fundamentally her game. If she hits the gym and gets bigger, I think you're looking at one of the best centers in this game. She is lengthy. She is long. She is vertical. She knows the game. She knows where she's supposed to be, and being coached by Sandy, who's previously coached Brittany Griner, that's exactly what you want. I think Han just needs to bulk up just a little bit, and we are going to see a problem in New York. It is going to be awesome. I love Han so much. So 2, 0, and 1 doesn't really scream who she is. Only played 6 minutes. Whitcomb 8, 2, and 0 and 13. Richards 0, 2, and 1 and 1. Dangerfield had zeros around the board in 1 minute. Michaela only had 2 points in 1 minute, and Julie had, Jocelyn had zeros around the board in only 1 minute. But when you really look at New York as a whole, I think they should be proud of this. I really do. I don't mean to sit here and, act like they're bigger than what they were, but they had a 20% chance at making the playoffs this year at one point, and they took us 3 games, and that's definitely, and they took us to their house. That was something, not a lot of people saw coming. That is something where, that it was one of the biggest upsets of the playoffs so far. And I think right now, when you look at it from that perspective, you have to give them credit where credit is due. And Sabrina, putting up 7 points in game 2 definitely puts a damper on things. But they doubled her that entire game. Rebecca Gardner did amazing things in game 2 and game 3. Cod did amazing things against Sabrina in game 2. It's just, when it comes down to, is all the experience and just who's better. And whose game plan, can help win the most. If you double Candace Parker, we have 4 other all WNBA first teamers that you have to worry about. We have Rebecca Gardner, Julie, and Dana, and Azrae, and everybody else that you have to worry about. So when you really look at it like that, you double Sabrina, that's their engine. That's like doubling Kai, except they don't have a Candace Parker to really go to quite yet. Natasha Howard's a bucket. Don't get it twisted. Laney's a bucket. Johannes is a bucket. But they need that veteran leadership, that other scorer that they could truly get. And that's where I keep saying, and I will keep screaming this, Brianna Stewart, please, for the love of God and all WNBA, go to the New York Liberty in the offseason. As much as I would hate it as a Sky fan, it definitely would be good for basketball. It would be good for women's basketball. And that would be probably one of the greatest duos of the 21st century. So it's definitely something interesting to see her, born and from New York. She grew up a Liberty fan, watching them hoop, and her potentially even wanting to do it last year before she got courted is that conversation of, what the future lies. But as it comes from for the Sky, before we get out of here, we do need to talk about it for this Sunday, pardon me. It's in Chicago. I believe it's an 8 p.m. game. You're looking at, either the Dallas Wings or the Connecticut Sun. And like I said in the beginning, I truly do think, the Connecticut Sun are the team I would want to play, just because, we've beaten them 6 times straight since last playoffs, and we had their number all season. And I think, they fight hard. They're a good team, but I do think we have made the right adjustments to really have their number in several different ways. They really can't figure out what we're doing. And I think, when it comes to the Dallas Wings, that's one of those teams where, on paper, maybe they don't scare you, but not having enough on them, I think is the issue. I think that's where those sneaky upsets kind of come in, and you really don't know what you have in someone. Like last year with the Sky, not a lot of people knew who Kahleah Copper was. Let's be real. Sky fans knew. Everyone from Philly knew. New York knew. Everybody knew because Ka was on the rise. But before she won Finals MVP, she was kind of just like the second fiddle to Candace Parker and company. So now she solidified herself, and that can easily happen with Dallas. That's an easy conversation. But I do think it's going to be very interesting. Congratulations, ladies, again. Congratulations to James Wade, not only on Executive of the Year, not only on going to the semifinals, but getting that well-deserved contract extension through 2025. He definitely deserves it, man. It's one of those conversations you're really looking at it. You're really looking at through this team and what they've built. And I think, it's definitely well-deserved. And I think this team is going to be exciting for a very long time. And I'm really excited to see where they go moving forward. I'm really, really looking forward to the finals as well. If the Las Vegas Aces and the Chicago Sky get to go back at it, I really want to see how a full series of that would pan out because every game was so different this year. But we're not going to get ahead of our horses. But before we get out of here, if you haven't already, far more than just following me on all these platforms or following the All Sports, All Plays Network, definitely check out Skytown on Mike on the Mic YouTube. You can go on Mike on the Mic Skytown on YouTube, go into Mike on the Mic playlists, and you can find Skytown every single episode of every single interview. We have interviews with Candace Parker, Allie Quigley, Courtney Vandersloot, Kahleah Copper, and many more. Obviously, as you can see, we had 4 today. But with that being said, we will keep you up to date, everything Chicago Sky, and we will see you guys back either during a pregame episode or we will be doing Sunday night. Super excited about it, either against the Dallas Wings or the Connecticut Sun. Until then, this is Mike Hughes from Mike on the Mic and the All Sports, All Plays Network. You're listening to Skytown. Peace.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a place. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.